Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Panther Pawcast. It's our podcast where we talk about what's going on at the Pikeville Independent School System. This is co-sponsored today by Two Chicks and Company in downtown Pikeville, Hambley Boulevard, 766-7777. Stop by their office right there on the corner across the street from the university. They've got a tremendous amount of inventory. They have free gift wrapping and they have free delivery to either the high school or the elementary school. So when you get a chance, give them a call, see what you got going on, stop by and pick up a nice gift. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. We have a great thing going on today. Miss Kelly Scott is here. She's a biology teacher over at Pikeville High School, and she's got a lot of stuff to talk about. So we're going to get ready and jump right into it. Kelly, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, all right, what do we got going on? What's happening at the high school? What's going on with you?
We have so many things happening at the high school. But with me particular, I work with a group of students. I have five girls this year. They're all seniors. They have been working with me on Healthy Way program for the past 3 years. And so they have gotten to do things that other students maybe didn't want to or weren't excited to do. But now that they've gotten into it, they can see the benefits of it. We do the UK Center of Excellence of Healthy Way in the UK Center of Excellence in Rural Health Healthy Way program.
All right,
It's
tell me what that does. Tell me exactly, or just give me the cliff notes of what the Healthy Way program does. It's in conjunction with the Center for Excellence in Rural Health.
They are concerned about rural students and they want to give them the opportunity to find a problem in their school or in the community that they can research, they can find a solution and implement that solution and watch for a change.
Okay, so hold on a second. Let's back up. The grade level of these five students that you have right now. What?
They're all seniors.
Okay, all right. Okay, so these seniors are posed with an issue.
Mhm.
They find an issue. They come up with an issue. They say, "This is the problem facing us from a health standpoint."
Yep.
They do research.
Yep.
They come up with a solution. What is the problem that these students this year have faced?
We are still focusing on vaping. That was our topic
Wow,
last
really?
year. Oh yeah. It is, we've had a guest speaker, a famous guest speaker come in this
Yes.
year.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And then the students, it's a problem. When we were younger, smoking was a problem. And this is easier for them to get and access. And kids go to the bathroom way too many times during school. And if they're gone for 10 minutes, then we probably know what they're doing, which is really sad. Students don't understand the health consequences of vaping. And so my students so last year we had to end up doing our program over 2 years because we had snow and the flood
Sure.
and all those things. So we get a special request to continue our program this year. And our program this year actually is funded by United Healthcare of Kentucky.
Okay.
So they wanted to work with my students to develop a program that could be put in any high school in Kentucky.
What is the what you mentioned when we were going to school? I think I'm older than you are, but when I was going to school, my mother found me. I thought I was Joe Cool. I was sitting in a corner trying to have a cigarette in my hand at a party or something. I was probably 14 or 15 or 13, or I don't know how old I was. My mother found out because I come home stinking like an ashtray, and she
Exactly.
cut the filters off of a pack of Camels and made me smoke the entire pack of Camels. I got green as that tree behind you. I threw up like a dog, and I haven't touched
Yeah,
a cigarette ever since. Now, occasionally I'll
exactly.
smoke a cigar, but not anymore. I can't even do that anymore. It's so miserable. So, and with vaping, it's not like you could say, okay, I'm going to give you a whole pack of the vape and you're going to smoke it until you puke. This way you won't do it.
Yeah.
So why are kids choosing to vape as opposed to smoke or chew?
I think it's cool I think that they think that it is cool. Negative peer pressure. Um, in the bathroom, hey, this is what I got. I got it from my older brother, or I bought it from a senior, or hey, I swiped it from my mom or my dad. Um, I it's kind of the same thing. They want that excitement, but with vaping, they have to understand the issues with it. So my students are all about educating the students on the negative effects of vaping. And so we're doing this campaign so we can compare how many students got in trouble for vaping after we've done our campaign. Maybe it's lowered. Maybe kids, when they do our surveys, will say, okay, now that I know the truth, I don't think I want any of
Sure.
that anymore.
Education seems to go a long way. It's like sex education and everything else.
Mhm.
Back in the 70s, if you remember, you may not remember because I don't think you're that old, but back in the 70s, Joe Camel was
Oh, yeah.
the big thing, and the federal government said, "Listen, you're not going to do this because it looks like you're advertising to children.
Yes.
You go into any gas station, you go into any convenience store, and it's right there at the register. I'm sure you got to be 21, but we're not naive enough to think that just because kids are not 21 doesn't mean they're not going to have access to it."
Oh, absolutely. My students, I have a good rapport with my kids. And so I'll ask them straight up blunt questions. And most of them order it online and they just click a button. I'm 21.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's
And they know all of the stores in town that do not card. And, I would love to offer my students to go be one of those kids to try to buy and, have the ATF there, um, because it's an issue
yeah.
and they should, people who are selling it to these children, they need to be in trouble for it.
Do you see, I mean, you deal with the kids on a regular basis. Do you see that children are actually vaping more than they were smoking back when smoking was big, or chewing? Because chewing used to be big.
Yeah, chewing and Zen, those are still issues in the high school. They probably will always
I
be.
don't understand. See, one of the things when I was growing up, when I was a kid in high school, there were these the girls were just so cute and so good looking, and I just alls I wanted to do was have a date, and I just couldn't imagine going on a date and with a mouth smelling like an ashtray. Why is that a popular thing? My baseball coach, Coach Yanko, that was his name. He had a big thing of chew in there, and I was a catcher and shortstop, and he gave me a little bit of chew one time, and I got so damn sick, I threw up all over the bus. I got dizzy. I never chewed again in my life. I don't do any of that crap. I see what it does to your teeth and gums.
Yeah.
I don't. Why don't people just take a knife and put it in their arm if they're going to smoke or chew or vape?
I know, because the consequences that older when you get older, things change and things that you exposed yourself to when you were younger, you've already made those changes on the cellular level.
Sure,
And as you get older, our cells, our bodies don't work as well as they used to. There's nothing to fight it off. And then we're seeing now that, many people are dying from vaping.
sure.
And
And this is coming. You talk about cellular, molecular,
yeah,
whatever is coming from a biology teacher who understands cells and biology and
yeah,
molecules and crap like that. I mean, I don't know nothing about that, but I do know that when, you deplete, it's hard to replete, and then your body gets
absolutely.
used to it. And then as we get older, we say, geez, I can't breathe. I can't, walk, from here to the store without, wheezing. And then for smoking for 30 years, you wonder why.
you know, Peer pressure will always be a thing. As long as there's
Sure.
children, there's always going to be peer pressure, and especially in our junior high kids, um,
Where they're vulnerable and they're
where
very impressionable.
yes, we're seeing that more than I think our high schoolers, because at this point, the high schoolers don't really carry it to school. They wait and do it on the parties on the weekends,
Sure.
where your junior high kids are doing it at school because they're away from their parents.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Way to go.
yeah.
All right. So we talked about the negative effects. So these five individuals here, what have
Mhm.
they found that is negative from vaping, and what's their solution to helping this?
Um, Negative, various types of cancers, breathing
Is it different
issues.
cancers that you get from smoking? Because
Yes.
the vaping cartridge does, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't it have some selenium in it or some kind of metal in it that
Yes.
gets in your lungs and prevents you from
Yeah,
breathing?
because once it is vaporized at that very high temperature, those chemicals do change, that molecular structure changes, and that's where we see the
There you
problems.
go, getting all biologically on me. All right, so that's where we see that. So these are cancer causing or potentially cancer causing
Yeah,
particles that we're putting in our lungs.
right.
And the heat of the 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 battery of whatever
Yes.
it is causing that type of ingestion that we're dealing with. So these kids have found this out. What's their solution to this problem? What are they saying?
So what we have decided to do this year, is right now. So they have done a podcast at school, just the talking
Sure.
podcast. We're getting ready to post it on our YouTube page. Just kind of talking about why do kids do it, what's in it. Each of the students had something to talk about. So each of the five had their own, I guess, like they mastered that content and they were in charge of that content. So they showed a lot of good information. So now we have a poster contest going on. So with the poster contest, we have grade level prizes. So it's got to be an anti vaping theme. And we're going to take the winners of the poster contest, turn them into shirts and buttons and stickers. And then we're going to give those out as prizes as students take quizzes about content, like, we'll give them something to read, and there'll be a fun quiz, and
Sure.
every time they do it, they get their name put in for a drawing. And then, they want to follow up in March and do a podcast with you so they can share what they've learned and how we see a change and how we hope to see a change, because just 2 months, 3 months of education is not gonna be that
Sure. Right.
that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So we wanna be able to
It's
see
got to
how
be
it's gonna carry.
impactful and
Yes.
all that. Have any students during this process between last year and this year, have any students come up to you privately and said, "Listen, Miss Kelly, I gotta figure out how to stop when I don't know how to do it."
They have not. We have made it very available. We have also put the number out there that the kids can actually text a person. They can say, "Hey, I would like to stop. How are some resources?" And they will text you back. They will answer you. They'll send you the resources to help you quit. But when we did have our guest speaker, I think he had like 10 or 12 vapes turned into him that
At
day.
that time, sure.
Yeah. So kids know what they're doing is wrong, but we've got to give them that little incentive to take that step towards the right direction.
Well, I've always been a big proponent that, I think 18 is too young for children to be able to make their own
Absolutely.
ideas or pathway. I've always been a proponent of having it 21 because, at 18 you're still not mature enough to figure out what's going on.
You are not.
I mean, I know that we can draft kids at the age of 18, we can do all kind of things at the age of 18, but I also think that they are fresh out of high school, they're fresh out of wherever they're at, or they're in their last year of high school, and they just don't have the opportunity. They're still not fully grown. Their bodies are still maturing, their minds are still maturing. Hell, I'm
Absolutely.
63 years old and I'm still not mature enough to do anything. But I know I don't want to smoke anything anymore because it's just
Exactly.
those I every time I see a cigarette or smell something, like my guys will be out there and they'll have a cigarette outside or whatever they smoke out there, and I'll go out there and smoke, and I get to the point where I want to vomit because my mother, I'm sitting in my living room in 1974
It
or
comes back to
75
you.
or whatever year it was. It comes back to me, and I just want to puke. I don't know how to get around that point, and it's really not cool. I mean, it's not a cool thing.
No.
Like, it's you think it's cool while you're sitting or smoking at a party or something, and you're
Yeah.
14 or 15, and you can inhale and you can hold it in and not, throw up all over the rug. But I think what's more cool is a child who's developing, who says, "Listen, that's not for me because this is what I want my life to be, or I want to do something different." Uh,
Absolutely.
and I'm trying to figure out, or I'm trying to tie the pretty bow together to figure out what's that magic word? What is that magic message? I know your guest was there and he had a bunch of vapes turned in, but what's the magic message? We don't want our kids to drink. We don't want our kids to text and drive. We don't want our kids to smoke. We don't want them to have sex. We don't want them to do that. What freedoms do they have? What freedoms can we give them? What is cool that they can be proud of? And
I know.
and give them an alternate.
I yeah. And it's hard. Growing up is hard. Being a teenager is one of the hardest things to do. Yeah, they don't get a lot of things that they can do. Um, I don't know. In my room, I always talk about knowledge is power. So, regardless of what you do with your life, regardless of how someone treats you or how someone whatever, no one can take your knowledge from you. So, the girls and I think that giving them the facts, this is what it is. This is what it's about. This is why we don't want you to do this. People care about you. You're cared about. We don't want you to be forgotten about. We don't want you to be a number. We want you to know that you're loved, you're cared about, and we want you to not do this. And that's what my girls want to get out there. And then I also, and we have a program at Pikeville High School that there is nowhere else in the state of Kentucky. We have Panther partner mentors. So we have juniors and seniors who are dare leaders. So, Chad Branham, he and I and Philip Reed have worked together for years. And my kids put the lessons together for the dare class. And every year, the kids focus on vaping, social media impact on your mental health, over the counter drugs. They talk about, buying cough syrups and things like that because kids do that. And so we want this positive peer pressure. So we want those seventh graders in that DARE class to know it is super cool to not do that. You get up here, you get to teach. We're athletes, we're academics, we're in the band. We do all these cool things because we don't make those
You know
decisions.
what's super cool? Understanding and reading Shakespeare.
Exactly.
I got on that for I was talking to a gentleman not too long ago and a lawyer, and, the last name of one of the lawyers was Nunnery. I don't like to advertise the lawyer, and I talked to his partner. I said, "Do you know in Shakespearean terms what the nunnery was?" And I had to go through this whole thing, and then I got it and I clipped it to him and told him, "I'm not gonna tell you because I don't want the kids are watching." But, essentially, a nunnery is when Othello, said, "Get thee to the nunnery,"
Yeah.
back in that days was get thee to the brothel.
See, didn't know that.
See, and I didn't smoke anything in high school because didn't wanna do that. Now I know that. Now it's probably one of the only Shakespeare things that I know about, but at least it's cool because I was able to talk to a lawyer who is much smarter than me and a doctor who's much smarter than me and teach them something that they had no idea about. And a biology
Exactly.
teacher. I just taught you
Yes.
something Shakespearean, and I think that is cooler. I watch Jeopardy too.
Yeah. You
I
have to.
I don't smoke. I can't smoke, but I watch Jeopardy, and I
Yeah.
think that's cool because if I get 1 out of the 60 questions right, I feel like I've have accomplished something.
I know. Yes, I feel the same way. I like when they have science questions because everything else I usually don't know.
Yeah, I'm really hard at I my wife does the Bible questions because she's very good at that. I'll do, like, the music questions, and other than that and maybe some cooking or libations and stuff like that, but other than that and I think that's cool because it's
Yeah.
really cool to dazzle people with your knowledge
Yep.
and brilliance and spend time on getting smart and doing something like that than it is for anything else.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned the DARE program. When I was growing up, I don't know if you remember, but they had the big TV thing was a skillet with some eggs on it.
Yes.
This is your
Nancy
brain.
Reagan's
Yeah.
commercial.
This is your brain and this is your brain on drugs. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's what I had for breakfast this morning. Can you please tell me that the DARE program now has got somebody with half a jaw, a trach going in their thing, and lungs that are busted open and black and
No.
please tell me that DARE is got visuals that scare the absolute hell out of kids from doing it.
Um, I have so my kids when they become the Dare Mentor leaders, because there's a huge whole process that they have to go through. They're vetted at the school level
Sure.
and even at the police department level. And so they make their lessons, they put those pictures and stuff in there, but Dare now is about making smart choices. So it's all about education. why do we not want you to do this? If you're pressured, here are things that you can say
Sure.
to get out of it. And so it's about making those smart decisions. And this year we have Officer Amanda, who is
She's great.
genuine. She
Yeah, I
is
love
great.
her. She's
And
great.
the kids love her. And last week, because it was our first Tuesday back, we did not have DARE, but the 7th grade class teacher who has DARE in her classroom, she was like, "But these kids need it this week."
Sure.
So, Amanda came and did it all by herself without any of my kids.
Well, that's so, and I'll talk to Chad Branham and Sergeant Branham and the Chief Reed to maybe if we can get some broken lungs and some people with half faces and some trach tubes going in there. The smokers, on
Yeah.
TV, blah blah blah. I mean,
And
that's
we always, Chad is very good about bringing in a guest speaker at the end of the year,
sure,
and it's just for the 7th graders, and they come in and they tell their story. They tell their story whether it is alcohol, smoking, vaping, drugs, because having an addictive personality, it doesn't just have to be that. You can be addicted to food. You can be addicted to, video games and
sure,
all these
right.
other things.
Scrolling your screen, blue screen. I mean,
Exactly. And
it's so
so,
easy.
yeah, making those decisions and knowing what it means to have an addictive personality and to be able to make those smart choices, that's what
That's
we
what it's
try to
all
do with
about.
those kids.
What's the next step for your students right now in Healthy Way right now? Where do they go? What's the next step? And and when we talk to them in March, what are they going to tell me?
By then, we will have completed our poster contest. We will have our shirts and all of our giveaways. And we won't be able to go present this year because one thing about Healthy Way program or hackathons that I've done with kids or things through SOAR or KVEC, it's about researching, becoming knowledgeable, but then presenting that information.
Sure.
So those girls are gonna because the meeting is in Corbin this year, and there's no way we could drive there, present, and then come back in the same school day. So we're gonna do ours virtually. So they have to put together a presentation with all of the statistics of this is what kids said before our program, this is what kids said after our program. And then they have to share all of the results and how successful it was. Students who have done this with me in the past, their research has been top notch. They have been offered scholarships that they would not have been
Sure.
offered. I have students who've done this with me before, who were they're in medical school now, and they were told in their interview, because you did stuff like this,
Is the reason
that
why you got in.
yes.
I expect nothing less from you, Miss Kelly. All right. Now listen, there's a song that the Doors did. It's called 5 to 1.
Mhm.
Um, you got 5 students, and if we could change one life, I think that's a beautiful thing. So if we get
Absolutely.
one person to stop, these 5 kids, they've changed one life in a positive way. So that's good.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward. When you do your giveaways, make sure you get photographs and all that stuff. Let me
Okay.
know when you're going to do that, and we'll get it. We'll get Terry May or Russ or somebody down there to get some, or Gary Sloan, get some pictures, put it in the paper to highlight it. This is a very important thing. Not only is it important from a health standpoint, but just like you said, it's important from a research standpoint because these 5 students are going to have enlightenment on holy crap, I'm researching. This is really, really bad.
Yeah.
This is horrible for people. And I want to make sure that people understand this. And I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that I get my message out. So
Yeah.
it's a great lesson, not only for healthy way and stop smoking or stop vaping, but it's also a great tool or exercise on what life is going to be later for these 5 young ladies as they pursue a career in whatever it is that they
Absolutely,
do.
because it looks so good because they have exposure to this, and my seniors are gonna be graduating, so I'm gonna be looking for
For another
new
set
s
to right, to
absolutely, new
replace them.
students to come in and step up, and, we've done school safety,
Sure,
we've done drug addiction, we have done just adding walking to your life, not any elaborate expensive gym membership or anything. What does walking do for your life? And so, we just try to find something that, like I said, if we just change one person's life, then we've done it.
That's exactly right. So again, I will see you sometime in March, or your students sometime in March. Let me know when you're going to do the giveaway. I'd like to go down there and be part of that. I think
Okay.
that's really cool. 5 to 1, 1 to 5. No
Excited.
one here gets out alive. Um, Thank you very much, Miss Kelly Scott, for joining us. Biology teacher. She's clearly much smarter than I'll ever be. This program is it's an unbelievable undertaking, and it's vitally important not only for the health of the students, but it's vitally important for the students who are doing the research.
Yeah.
Um, the Panther Podcast, once again, brought to you by Two Chicks and Company, downtown Pikeville, 766-7777. Free wrapping, free delivering. Go see those folks down there. Miss Scott, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
I
for
really
having me.
appreciate it.
Thank you.